Welcome to the US Daily Brief channel. In the face of the all-out sudden offensive launched by the Ukrainian armed forces in the last week of June, the Russian army is silent and suffers a great defeat. The Russian army is now trying to defend itself and retreat with the feeble attacks. We see that the game changer in the success of the Ukrainian armed forces is the M142 long-range high-mobility multiple rocket launcher systems. M142 HIMARS is definitely making Putin sweat and inflicting the heaviest losses on his army. We will present to you how the M142 became the nightmare of the Russian army in just 2 weeks. How it destroyed 11 Russian ammunition depots and headquarters, supply chains, and hundreds of the Russian military equipment and soldiers as a collective report that you will not find anywhere. Satellite images from the line show how Ukrainian HIMARS destroy Russian columns. NASA satellites are also tracking the area and show the conflict line formed by the US-made Ukrainian M142 MLRS and M777s from Kharkiv in the east of Ukraine to Kherson in the south. On July 10, the space agency NASA released photos of the front line in Ukraine taken from space. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration was able to detect the hottest spots on the front with the help of the FIRM system. The scene was so terrifying that it is a crimson skirmish that cast Ukraine into thorns. Areas engulfed in flames were detached by satellites that provided monitoring of major fires. However, most of these areas were occupied areas under Russian control. The pictures show the main fire points concentrated in the Mykolaiv and Kherson regions in the south of Ukraine, and the Luhansk, Donetsk, and Kharkiv regions in the east. The Ukrainian armed forces strengthen its arsenal with the weapons it received from the west, but HIMARS from the USA made a big difference in the region. It's also reported by the Ukrainian authorities that the reason for the increase in the fires in the areas detached by satellite images is the HIMARS attacks. Dozens of Russian ammunition depots and headquarters have been destroyed in the past 2 weeks as a result of the massive attacks by the Ukrainian armed forces. According to the information obtained by our field experts, since the beginning of July, 27 Russian ammunition depots and headquarters were destroyed. Only a few of them were destroyed in the eastern Ukraine, Kharkiv, Izium, and Donbass region, and more than 20 were destroyed as a result of the sudden offensive. Let me tell you the horrors of M142 long-range high-mobility multiple rocket launchers. 11 of the Russian ammunition depots destroyed in the last 2 weeks were actually destroyed by the M142 HIMARS. The threat that the M142 has posed since the first day of his arrival, and the fact that its attacks have no equivalent in the Russian army, makes Russian President Vladimir Putin think deeply. Also, this makes HIMARS unique against the Russian army and seems like an inextricable equation for Russia. While it's known that Ukraine currently has 8 HIMARS, it is estimated that the USA will send 4 more HIMARS to Ukraine in the newly announced package. HIMARS is destroying Russian bases and ammunition depots, as is evident in recent videos and reports. One of the most striking operations of the American HIMARS in Ukraine was the destruction of the large Russian ammunition depot in Novakhovka. Using long-range artillery such as the HIMARS and M777 howitzers supplied by the USA, the Ukrainian armed forces struck the Russian ammunition storage facilities in the city of Novakhovka in the Kherson region, and large explosions and fires were observed in the published images. Serhiy Klan, advisor to the head of the Kherson Regional Military Administration, states that with the operation carried out in the morning, Russian warehouses were blown up and Ukraine's victory came much closer as a result of these attacks. The explosions were felt with such intensity that eyewitnesses stated that the explosions were felt from miles away. According to primarily information of the armed forces of Ukraine at the time of the strike, at the base of the Russian invaders in Novakhovka, there was a large fleet of vehicles, including at least 50 fuel trucks and about 200 missiles. In addition, the Russian submerged MLRS systems and many personnel were present. It was reported that at least 7 Russian soldiers were killed and more than 50 wounded. It was also reported that a large number of Russian military equipment, armed vehicles, at least 200 Russian soldiers were destroyed as a result of the relentless attack of Ukrainian artillery on a Russian military base with American M777 1 week ago. At the same time, we can say that this operation is the record for the most Russian soldiers destroyed in an attack by Ukrainian artillery. Ukraine primarily carries out its attacks with the Uragan and Grad MLRS, but they activate HIMARS and Tachko-U to prevent Russian air defense systems from countering Uragan and Grads. It seems that Tachko-U is used much more efficiently after the Ukrainian armed forces started using HIMARS. This shows us effect of HIMARS not only in its own destructive power but also in the efficient use of other weapons. The USA sees how effectively these weapons are used by Ukraine and sends new HIMARS to the region every day. Number of weapons sent to the region in the first shipments was 4, later it was increased to 8. Finally, it is stated that 4 new HIMARS will be sent with a new aid package of $400 million. With this last shipment of HIMARS, the Ukrainian armed forces will have 12 of them. So, how are these weapons used so effectively by the Ukrainian armed forces? When asked why it took so long for the US to procure HIMARS and why only 4 were dispatched at a time, the officials explained that it took time to train Ukrainian soldiers who had previously used only former Soviet Union long-range fires. After providing useful for Ukrainian troops, reports revealed how the US completed a training tour for Ukrainian troops on how to use them. So, why does the US only ship 4 M142 HIMARS in a single shipment? The senior defense official clarified this issue. He stated that the training groups for the HIMARS systems to the Ukrainian artillery units were able to train up to 4 M142 soldiers for each team, and for this reason they were sent on a limited basis. It was explained how the US military successfully trained 100 Ukrainian soldiers on how to use the new HIMARS. A senior US defense official states that more than 100 Ukrainians have undergone serious training at this stage and have been taught how to use HIMARS in the most efficient way. Another US senior official revealed that the final aid package includes 1,000 most powerful M982 Excalibur M155mm artillery shells, as well as 3 tactical vehicles to help Ukraine troops recover equipment from the battlefield. M142 HIMARS rocket launcher systems are already working in the interest of the Ukrainian defense. Artillery of the armed forces skillfully struck the designated targets, which were enemy military installations on the territory of Ukraine. Any equipment sporting them will make the job of these powerful weapons easier. The superior performance of these weapons has already begun to sweat the Russian generals. The Russian army is faced with a bigger problem in every situation where it cannot find a solution, and its losses have started to increase exponentially. Especially the HIMARS attacks on the logistics of the Russians completely ruined Russia's businesses. With the hit of the Russian logistics, the supply chain of the Russian army is on the verge of a collapse. We witnessed that heavy weapons and powerful ammunition sent from West inflicted great damage on the Russian army, but not enough to ensure Russia's complete withdrawal from Ukraine. Ukraine's Ministry of Defense has announced what weapons it needs to defeat Russia, and amongst these weapons there is definitely HIMARS. However, the amount sent to the Ukrainian armed forces at the moment is definitely not enough. Dozens of HIMARS and hundreds of artillery systems are needed for the Russian army to fully push back. We hope that Ukraine will soon regain the freedom and territorial integrity it deserves.